Civil courts can take an average of 24 months to conclude, largely because of the limited number of magistrates and judges available to hear all these cases, but also because of the long distance for some between the courts and the places where they actually live. According to a World Bank-supported study, mediation has reduced the time it takes to resolve a case in Kenya from an estimated 24 months to 66 days. To help us understand what is mediation and, of course, its impact on the justice system, I am now joined by two people in studio. Let me introduce them to you. From my far right there, we have Reverend Geoffrey Njenga. He is a professional accredited mediator. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
And right here next to me, I have Irene Ochola. She's the head of mediation for FIDA. Welcome to the program as well. Mediation has become the buzzword. If you Google mediation, you'll see different bodies saying why mediation is the future, why Kenyans must embrace mediation. Let's start, I guess, and I can start with you, Reverend, with a simple definition of mediation.
The simple definition of mediation, Wahiga, is when you bring two people who are in dispute to talk about their dispute and work out a mutually beneficial outcome. The key thing there is people come together to talk.
So if that is the case, how would you say the uptake of mediation has been so far? Because your definition sounds very simple.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like it makes sense.
Absolutely.
But that's not always the case.
First, I want to say mediation works, because I've seen it work. I've seen it work in commercial matters, in succession matters, even in marital matters. People who are at war coming together to talk together. But having said that, I should also say mediation is not known by very many people. And that's where we are at, that we want people to know it so that they can use it. The key plank there is that judiciary has accepted mediation as a way to resolve disputes under court-mandated mediation, where they are crediting mediators and using them to resolve conflicts and disputes. That then means people are beginning to understand, indeed, there is an alternative to litigation, because mediation is in that basket of conflict resolution alternative conflict dispute resolution mechanisms. And the question is, alternative to what? Alternative to litigation. So we are getting there.
Okay.
And we are pushing this to as many Kenyans as possible to understand you don't have to spend 20 years. You talked about World Bank report.
Over
you don't have
months.
to talk to wait for 20 years to access justice, and this is becoming the real thing.
Okay, let me bring in Irene on this. By the time FIDA appoints a head of mediation, what does that tell you?
It tells us that FIDA believes in the mediation program. It believes that in spite of the fact that the public knows FIDA as a litigating organization, we actually pride in allowing people to have the same space that my colleague Reverend Njenga is talking about, that people can come by themselves to identify the solutions they prefer and solutions they will live by. And that's what mediation gives them.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you want to add anything to what he said in terms of a definition or the importance of mediation right now?
Mediation for me, for FIDA, is critically important in the sense that people spend a lot of time and a lot of money they already don't have and need for other things to go to court. If people can embrace mediation, their conflicts might take a shorter time. The strife they live through that gives birth to other problems, even diseases, might be reduced, but people must take ownership of the mediation program. So therefore, people like us and DCRI need to take the message to the people about the accessibility and the functionality of the mediation program.
Okay, and of course to our viewers watching, if you have any questions, any comments on mediation, access to justice, mediation versus litigation, and also the question of where does arbitration fit in all this, 22422 is our SMS line. Use that and I'll be able to monitor your feedback and use the hashtag CitizenExtra. So Reverend Njenga, coming back to you, some of these terms can be confusing. So again, even as we sort of try and lay the framework with definitions, arbitration.
But before I say that, let me say this. The secret in mediation is that it deals with interests. What can I live with? As opposed to litigation, which deals with my rights. And the judge is obligated to give me my rights, even if those rights were going to hurt me, or even if he didn't agree with me, he would give it to me because it's my right. Now, that has all manner of problems. That has caused us to be in court for the longest time. What is this big basket called alternative dispute resolution mechanisms.
It's a big basket.
Yes, it's a big basket that carries, it's a big bus that carries many things. And one of those is negotiation. And let's get the definition right. Alternative dispute resolution mechanism. They are all alternative to litigation. And one of those is negotiation, where people come together to negotiate for their interest. You have conciliation, which is basically shuttle diplomacy. People in dispute, you shuttle between the two of them and find out what can work for them. That is conciliation. Then you have arbitration. Arbitration, in actual fact, is a private legal judicial process where people go and sit before an arbitrator and make their presentation to an arbitrator. And on listening to the evidence on both sides, the arbitrator gives an award. So it is a private judicial process. The only difference between litigation and arbitration is because it happens, we can sit in this studio, of course, with our cameras, and then, you know, have this as the arbitrator. We make submissions, and an award is given. It's called arbitral award. She will give an arbitral award.
Okay. Irene, coming back to you, a World Bank article last year claimed that mediation has reduced the time it takes to resolve a case from 24 months to 66 days.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you? Do those statistics make sense to you?
It does. Those statistics make a lot of sense. Sometimes a woman, let me use the case of a woman, because that's who FIDA is. A woman comes to pursue the interests of her children through a mediation program. And if she files a case, it takes time to serve the other party. It takes time to get through the mention processes. It takes time to get to the hearing phase. It takes further time to get to the ruling. That may well be 3 years. But mediation is the situation where she walks through the gate, we hear her out, and we encourage her. The mediation is actually a suitable space where they can talk. We will issue an invite, a very cordial invite, to the other party. Should they agree to accept this invite, they will come and sit. They could sit between 1 to 4 sessions. That might be well under 4 months.
Can they come with their own mediator?
They can.
If they feel that
if they believe in that mediator, and FIDA believes that if the woman feels the mediator is right for them and will secure their interests, for that is FIDA's encouragement for women, then they can come with the mediator. So in under 4 months, they may well get what they would not have gotten after 4 years in court.
Okay, Reverend.
I have done work for FIDA and closed matters which have been out there in court within 2 meetings, and I've closed them. And there was an agreement, or there has been there. You make an agreement between the disputants. I am an accredited mediator and also a professional mediator. By accreditation, the judiciary picks professional mediators and owns them by accrediting them to take matters from the judiciary to deal with them. And I've dealt with matters between banks and their customers, which were there for 17 years, and dealt with them within 2 weeks.
Do you have to be a lawyer or an advocate?
No, you don't have to. In fact, you're better off when you're not a lawyer, because this is a totally different system
altogether.
It needs to move. You know, lawyers, our Ihiga, are trained to be fighters. I call them gladiators.
Do you have a legal background, Joseph?
No.
No. Okay, so no lawyers on this table
well,
right
even
now.
if they were, I was just saying what I'm just about to say.
I wanted to give them a right of reply in case they objected.
This is true. They cannot object because it is true. They are trained to fight. A lawyer will fight for your rights to the last breath. And that is what they are trained for. So they are gladiators. And that's the poison in litigation, because it's about fighting. Mediation is totally different. It's about bringing people to discuss their problem. A family that is fighting over succession, I've done many of those. They are fighting over land. They can be in court, and I've done one that has been there for 30 years. 30 years. They can be in court for 30 years fighting over land. I did one which was funny because they have reached now 80 years, a bunch of brothers. They are over 80 years. They've been in court for 15 years, and this is likely to go on for another 15 years. Obviously, they are not likely to be there.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but in then dealing with them, we were able to reach a consensus within 3 meetings, which took
3 meetings was all it took.
Which took less than 3 weeks.
So Irene, if I'm watching this broadcast and I'm thinking I have a particular issue,
Yes.
how will I know when to go for litigation,
Yes.
when to go for arbitration, when to
Yes.
go for mediation?
I would encourage you to visit in the first instance any institution that prides itself in offering professional mediations and ask for the service. In FIDA, for instance, you don't have to be a woman to initiate the service.
Okay.
Men can literally leave their homes, and they do. They leave their homes and they come to FIDA, and they initiate the mediation program.
But in terms of issues, which issues
Yes.
would you say that's straight litigation, that's arbitration, and that sounds more like mediation? How do you then kind of figure out once you have the evidence before
Thank you very much. Sexual violence issues are straight litigation
Okay.
issues.
There's no discussion about
No
any other
conversation
forms
around
there.
that. There are no redemptions, no compensations in that category of events. You go to court and you meet what happens there. But if you have issues, succession, issues land, issues
Commercial.
custody of children's upkeep, you need to come. Division of matrimonial property, you can come and have these conversations with us. Yes.
Okay, Reverend, unit
Other than criminal matters, anything else can be mediated. So if somebody comes and they have a matter other than criminal matters, we can mediate. Arbitration is usually referred to either by court or people by choice. They choose an arbitrator. Usually they are heavy commercial construction type matters generally that go to arbitration, and it is provided for in the contractual documents that they can go for arbitration.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is there an option of appeal if I'm not happy with?
No. there
First of all,
cannot
does
be.
mediation get to a point where someone would feel that I'm not happy with what's going on and I
If
want
you're
to
not happy
appeal?
with what is going on,
Yes.
you abandon the process, and that is the right of the litigants. I mean, of the disputants.
Okay.
You can abandon the process.
Yes.
Why would there not be appeal in mediation? Because mediation is for the willing. You've got to
Okay.
be willing. Mediation is voluntary. You've got to be willing to come to the table to pursue your interests. Whether that be a couple planning to divorce, they have interests they can talk about. Even if they were not planning to stay together, they probably have children. They need to talk about those children, and they have property that they can talk about. So once you agree, if you had a dispute with me, we agree, what are we appealing about? Now, when I do matters which are in the litigation process in the judiciary, people come together and we have an agreement. That agreement is taken to court and there's no appeal. It becomes the order of the court and there's no
Okay.
appeal.
Okay.
Why? Because the two have sat together and agreed.
Is there a concern, and I think I'm coming to you shortly,
yes.
is there a concern that if I am in the middle of a court case and it's clearly not going well, that I could call you and say, let's go mediate, and then in the middle of mediation I get information from you
Yes.
and go back to court and charge my lawyer.
Okay.
I now have new data that you can use against.
Okay, mediation assumes goodwill, not just a willingness, and it's
Yes.
about integrity, not just a willingness to talk, but that there will be integrity. The other thing is, if I am the mediator, I am protected. I can never be called in a court of law
You
to
can
give
never be called
evidence.
in a court of law.
I can never be
Okay.
called in a court of law to give evidence.
Okay,
And the information received is confidential, which
Okay.
makes that process very well protected.
Okay, Irene,
Yes.
come in.
Yes. Allow me to add a little bit about the conversation you're having earlier. I would not call it an appeal of a mediation settlement. I would call it a review, Reverend Njenga.
Review, yes, it
a
can be.
review. Circumstances change. And it could be that when we were entering this agreement, things were different. And now things are different. So reviews in the mediation context are quite functional.
Okay.
And they're done anytime.
Okay.
All right?
As you think about that particular
Yes.
thought,
Yes.
Kenyans in many instances are usually
Yes.
hesitant to change. It
Yes.
takes time for Kenyans to accept something new, and we've seen that when innovations come up and things like that.
Yes.
What are the questions, the most common questions around mediation that you get when you propose it to a person?
People ask, especially as FIDA,
Okay.
do you have capacity to be non-biased towards the woman? Because the world knows FIDA to be pro-women.
In fact, you at some point you said FIDA is the woman.
Is a woman, yes. So it is amazing. Maybe I should call it a miracle for FIDA that we have been able to grow the mediation space, especially at FIDA.
Okay.
We have been able to impact the public, the people that come to us, that we actually retain the capacity to be neutral. It is about the professionalism of facilitating conversation between two people so that those two people arrive at an agreement they take ownership for.
Reverend,
Yes.
Well, the big question that people will ask is, does this thing work? And they
Does
say,
it work?
This thing, does it work?
what does work mean in their view?
Well, does it help me access justice? Does it deliver what I'm looking for? And the answer is yes, it does. And I can say that 1,000 times more. It does work. Because I said earlier, I've done commercial matters, and we've reached an agreement that was acceptable between the two. I've done marital matters, and we've reached an agreement that was agreeable between the two. I've done succession matters. Mainly, I've done a lot of succession matters where people are fighting over land that they inherited and properties that they inherited. It works over and over and over. And what people need to know, mediation is anchored in the Kenyan Constitution 2010, Article 159, allows, encourages Kenyans to adopt alternative dispute resolution mechanisms.
Yes.
Now, judiciary has gone one step ahead and activated it under court-mandated mediation, which means what? If you have a matter in court today and you are tired of waiting, and some will wait until eternity, you are tired of waiting, you can ask the court to send that matter for mediation, and it is given to some of us who are trained professional mediators and accredited. So, and they are closing matters every week, every day, matters which have been there for the longest time. Now, judiciary essentially put that process in place to deal with the backlog. And
So the more mediation we have, the easier it is
the
on
easier
the
it
judiciary.
gets. In fact,
So they
we
would
want
support
to reach
this.
a stage where Kenyans will be told to go for mediation first before they go to litigation, because you can resolve very many issues through mediation before you get to litigation.
Okay.
Another key thing about mediation is that it repairs relationships because it deals with two things. It deals with issues and it deals with emotions.
Okay.
People are allowed to vent.
Okay.
And oftentimes,
yes,
many problems are sorted out when you deal with emotions.
the
judge is not interested.
I actually wanted to talk about that because I think you were quoted in an article, and I'll read that quote shortly. But Irene, coming back to you,
Yes.
access to justice is made even harder outside Nairobi.
Yes.
Yes.
Because of lack of information, distance from courts, etc.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the access to mediation outside Nairobi. I'm sure in Nairobi I can easily get those services, but
Yes.
out there,
We have networks beyond, speaking from our perspective as FIDA, we have networks with people who are in far-flung areas, places where FIDA probably does not have a presence. And what is beautifully happening now is that people are training for the professional mediation course en masse. Just this week, I was sitting with a group from Nakuru. The other week, I was being called from Nyeri. There's a group of people who are wanting to collaborate with us in the mediation program.
Okay.
If we can functionally work with these islands of people, we can actually make mediation as accessible at everyone's doorstep. But there's need for groups and many people to sprout
of
all
any
over the
career,
place.
even a journalist,
Even a
can-
chief,
can be-
even a pilot,
All right.
even a doctor. I mean, I was inducting a group of mediators yesterday in family mediation. I had a HR officer, I had a retired accountant, I had nurses, I had people from different walks of life. Mediation is for everyone. You need to be willing.
You need to be willing. Let me
Yes.
read some
Yes.
SMSs here. Let me see here. Someone says they can summarize mediation with a Bible verse. They see a close linkage, and I think it's they have referred to Matthew 5:25 to 26,
Yes.
which says,
and
"Come
1 Corinthians 6
as well. Come to
1
terms quickly with
8.
your accuser while you're going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard
For sure.
and put you in trouble." So they say biblically there is a backing or
Absolutely.
basis for mediation over
Absolutely.
litigation.
Okay.
Another person, they don't give us your name, but to say congratulations, DCRI and FIDA. I think that's the institution
Yes.
you are from.
Yes.
What does DCRI stand for?
Dispute and Conflict Resolution International.
Okay. And they say mediation is the way to go to
Absolutely.
resolve conflicts, among others.
Absolutely.
Reverend Njenga, you were quoted as saying in an article, okay, I see here the title Mediator Geoffrey Njenga. and I want to believe that's you, that most disputes are not about facts, they're about injured emotions.
Yes.
Mediation allows aggrieved parties to release emotions,
Yes.
allowing them to feel heard in the language that they understand best.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about emotions, because I might feel that, fine, you're telling me mediation will sort this issue in the next 4 months, and I'll get what I want,
yes.
but I want to punish that other person.
Yes, you want to punish.
How do you resolve those?
I like that. I like that, because that really, that punishment thing is what drives many people. If you hear somebody say, see you in court, or my lawyers will come and get you, we are really talking about punishment. What they will not tell you is a number of things. One, that matter will be in court for a very long time. So if you thought that they are going to be punished next week, just think twice. It will be there for a very long time, and therefore it will really waste you. Secondly, it will cost you a lot of money. By the time you reach to the stage where you are punishing the other fellow, many things have happened. The third thing is that it will destroy that relationship even more, because when people go to court, they are no friends. That really is a reality. And then we have crooked judges. I mean, I don't want to shout too loudly about that, but it's true.
There are allegations.
There are allegations of crooked judges.
Proof here,
and you never know what is likely to happen. Flip the coin. If you agree to come to mediation, it's likely to take you shorter. It is likely to cost you less, and you're likely to mend relationships. Now, in mediations, I said, you deal with issues and you deal with emotions. If you break down while going through a court matter, the judge is not interested. In fact, you will say you're given time to go and you know, sort yourself out and come back.
Okay.
In most cases, the thing between you and me is something that was said, not necessarily even the truth, that you said something that hurt me, and those emotions have been running very deep.
Okay.
I'm given a chance to talk, and I've seen this happen without fail. You give people to talk. I was talking to a family that has not talked for 3 years, and they live in the same house. They have not talked for 3, and when they talk, you can see the emotions simply come down. That we have a chance to talk, and it becomes easier to deal with the issue. So what were you worried about? What were you fighting about? It is beautiful to behold.
Fair enough.
Can I say something about the church?
In 30 seconds, literally.
The church, we are under clear injunction as the body of Christ not to go to the court of law. 1 Corinthians 6:1-8 clearly says, don't take your matters to the non-believers to judge. And the other one that was quoted in Matthew, it clearly says, and we have what we call in DCRI, faith-based mediation. And we are trying to help the body of Christ understand.
In parallel to the Kadi court system.
Well, yes, we are trying to help the body of Christ understand.
Fair enough. Irene, finally, what will it take to normalize mediation in the legal system, if that already sort of hasn't happened?
I think the journey has begun. We need a shift in everyone's mindset. We need a shift in the mindsets of professionals that might be looking to take mediation ransom and make it what it's not.
Okay.
We need a shift in the mindsets of the people who can benefit from mediation. And I come back to the statement I keep saying, we need the public to take ownership of this mediation program, literally make it a walk-in, on-demand program. And I want to encourage Kenyans that in very many places, including FIDA, mediation is free. It's absolutely free to the people seeking for the solution.
Is it free up to some level of
it is free entirely
till the conclusion?
From month 1 to month 4 until you write your agreement. Even if you come for review, mediation at FIDA is free, entirely free to the parties seeking the solution. And therefore, it should be owned by the people. Something else a little bit about the emotions that lead people to seek punishment. People should also embrace the concept of counseling. Mediation might not give you the entire opportunity to work through everything that is bogging you down, but counseling coupled with mediation, should bring you out sparkling clean.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Reverend, we're really out of time.
We have a conference next week.
Yes.
And I would be amiss if I don't say.
Okay.
On the 25th to 27th in Strathmore,
okay,
to bring mediators together.
Good. And also I hope that after Nairobi that you'll take this message out, because I think that's one of the
actively doing that.
Coming out.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's been Reverend Geoffrey Njenga. He's an accredited professional mediator. And right next to me we've had Irene Ochula, Head of Mediation Feeder. Thank you both of you finding time to join us today. We take a short break.